Ever wondered what our ancestors ate? Today, we're stepping into a gastronomic time machine. Imagine dining with cavemen, feasting with pharaohs, munching with medieval knights, and savoring delicacies with Victorian aristocrats. Intriguing, isn't it? In the next 10 minutes, we will traverse through epochs, exploring the culinary delights that have graced tables across different centuries. We're not just talking about your typical history lesson here. We're diving fork first into the past, recreating historical recipes right in our modern-day kitchen. We'll begin with the primal Stone Age supper, where the menu was as raw and real as it could get. From there, we'll journey to the pyramids, tasting the ancient Egyptian eats that were fit for the gods. Then we'll venture into the Middle Ages, sampling the medieval munchies that fueled knights and nobility. Finally, we'll arrive in the Victorian era, indulging in the opulent victuals that grace the tables of high society. So strap in as we embark on this delicious journey through time. Our first stop is the Stone Age, a time when humans were hunter-gatherers. Picture, if you will, a world where supermarkets don't exist, where fast food is just a figment of the far future, and where every meal is a result of hard work and survival instincts. Welcome to the Stone Age, folks, where the menu was as primal as the people themselves. Now, the Stone Age diet was a far cry from our modern-day smorgasbord of flavors. In fact, it was as basic as it gets. The menu? Mostly meat, berries, and nuts. Yes, indeed. The humans of the Stone Age were largely hunter-gatherers, and their meals reflected that. The importance of meat in the Stone Age diet cannot be overstated. It was a major source of protein, vital for the strength and endurance needed in a harsh and unforgiving world. They hunted a variety of animals, from mammoths to rabbits, using tools made from bones and stones. But it wasn't all about the meat. Berries and nuts were also a crucial part of the Stone Age diet. They provided essential vitamins and nutrients, not to mention a welcome burst of natural sweetness in a world devoid of sugar-laden snacks. Now let's talk recipes. With the limited ingredients at their disposal, Stone Age humans had to be creative. One common dish would have been a simple roast, meat seasoned with whatever herbs were available, roasted over an open fire. Berries, either fresh or dried, would serve as a side dish, offering a balancing tartness to the rich meat. And there you have it, a Stone Age supper, simplified for our modern understanding. It's far from the culinary delights we're used to today, but it's a reminder of our roots, of a time when food was not just about taste, but about survival. A simple yet nutritious dish that kept our ancestors energized in a challenging world. Next, we're visiting the banks of the Nile in ancient Egypt. Imagine a time where pyramids were still new, and the Sphinx didn't yet have its mystery. That's where we're headed. The dining table of an ancient Egyptian, a place where food was not just about filling bellies, but also about nourishing the soul. The ancient Egyptian diet was surprisingly simple, yet extraordinarily significant. It was predominantly plant-based, with a heavy reliance on grains. But the heart of their cuisine, the soul of their sustenance, was bread and beer. Yes, you heard it right, beer. Bread was more than just a meal, it was a symbol of life. Made from emmer wheat, a cereal grain domesticated as early as 10,000 years ago, it was a staple that was consumed at every meal. It was so essential that it was even used as a form of currency. Now how about that for bread being the dough? And then, there was beer. Revered as a gift from the gods, beer was the national drink of ancient Egypt. It was consumed daily by adults and children alike, and was often a key component in religious rituals and offerings. Now let's get to the fun part. Let's make some emmer wheat bread. The recipe is simple. We begin with emmer wheat, grind it into flour, then mix it with water to form dough. Then we shape it into round loaves and bake it in a clay oven. The result is a dense, hearty bread, rich in flavor and full of nutrients. As we bite into this bread, we're not just tasting a recipe that's thousands of years old. We're experiencing a piece of history, a slice of life from a civilization that was far ahead of its time. With every bite, we're reminded of the ingenuity of the ancient Egyptians, their knowledge of agriculture and baking, and their profound understanding of the importance of food in culture and society. A staple food that was more than just a meal, it was a part of their culture. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, a time of knights, castles, and hearty meals. Now, we're stepping into an era where food began to take on a new sense of importance and complexity. The medieval period, stretching roughly from the 5th to the 15th centuries, was a time of culinary evolution. In this age of chivalry and heraldry, the daily diet was surprisingly humble for most. The cornerstone of medieval cuisine? Stews and pies. These dishes were not only nourishing but also practical. They could be cooked in a single pot over an open fire, and their hearty nature provided the necessary sustenance for a day of hard labor or battle. Stews in particular were a staple of the medieval diet. A typical stew would often consist of whatever ingredients were readily available: a bit of meat, some vegetables, and plenty of herbs for flavor. These ingredients would be left to simmer for hours, creating a dish that was both filling and comforting. Now let's whip up our own medieval stew. Picture this, a simple but hearty vegetable and meat stew. You start with a base of onions and garlic, sautéed until they're fragrant. Then you add chunks of robust meat, perhaps beef or mutton, and let it brown. Next, a medley of root vegetables joins the pot: carrots, parsnips, and turnips, their earthy flavors a nod to the rustic simplicity of the time. A generous handful of herbs, maybe some rosemary, thyme, and parsley, are added to the mix, echoing the natural seasonings of the medieval era. The entire concoction is then left to simmer, the flavors melding together into a rich, hearty stew. This is the essence of medieval cooking: simple ingredients, slow cooked to perfection, resulting in a dish that's more than the sum of its parts. It's a testament to the resourcefulness and practicality of the people of this era, their ability to make the most of what they had and turn it into something delicious and satisfying. A dish that warms the body and soul, truly a comfort food of the ages. Our final stop is the Victorian era, a period of extraordinary culinary innovation. As we step into the 19th century, we find ourselves in an era of opulence and grandeur, a time when food was not just about sustenance, but a reflection of one's social status. The Victorian era was a time when the dinner table was a stage, and the food was the main act. The Victorian diet was a fascinating blend of the elaborate and the simple. While the rich indulged in extravagant feasts of meat, game, fish, and poultry, the poor subsisted on a diet of bread, cheese, and vegetables. Yet it was a time when the art of cooking was celebrated and revered, with cookbooks becoming a common feature in many households. One of the culinary highlights of the Victorian era was the popularity of elaborate dishes. Precision, finesse, and a flair for the dramatic were key. Dishes were often decorated with intricate garnishes, and presentation was considered just as important as taste. Now let's dive into a classic Victorian recipe, the Victoria sponge cake. Named after Queen Victoria herself, who reportedly enjoyed a slice with her afternoon tea, this simple yet elegant cake is a testament to the era's love for baked goods. The recipe calls for the most basic of ingredients: flour, sugar, eggs, and butter. Yet it's in the method where the magic happens. The ingredients are carefully mixed to create a batter that is then baked to golden perfection. The cake is then sandwiched with a generous layer of jam and dusted with a sprinkle of sugar. The result is a cake that is light, fluffy, and delightfully sweet. This cake, like many Victorian dishes, is a testament to the era's culinary ethos, a blend of simplicity and grandeur, of humble ingredients and opulent presentation. So, there you have it, a taste of the Victorian era, an era of culinary innovation and grandeur, a time when food was an art, a spectacle, and a symbol of status. A sweet end to our historical culinary journey. What a tasty trip through time it's been. From the primal simplicity of our Stone Age supper to the refined elegance of Victorian victuals, we've journeyed through millennia of gastronomic history. Remember the Stone Age, when our ancestors used fire to transform raw ingredients into something more palatable? Then we moved to ancient Egypt, where the use of spices and grains brought flavor and diversity to the table. The Middle Ages was a testament to our growing sophistication in cuisine, with the introduction of exotic spices and complex cooking techniques. And lastly, the Victorian era showed us the birth of modern culinary practices and how societal norms influence the way we eat. It's fascinating to see how our diet has evolved, reflecting the changes in our environment, technology, and cultural exchanges. Truly, the food we eat tells a story of survival, adaptation, and innovation. As we've seen, food is more than just sustenance, it's a reflection of our history, culture, and innovation. Until next time, bon appétit!